don't mind watching somebody else's live, but I really wanted my videos to be a lot more planned than they have been. And again, it's solely been because of my phone storage, but it's more important for me to come in here and chat and share the things than it is for me to try to do a whole Jimmy Jam. It's honestly, I'm finding it a lot easier to just sit down and do a live. So anyway, what I wanted to chat about today is in the title. And this is something that I literally was about to cook dinner and I was like, you know what? I'm thinking, just walking around my house, unpacking the groceries and getting ready to do Italiano night. And then I'm like, wait a second. This is exactly what I have been trying to like get down to. So rumination, my friends, is not the same thing as self-acceptance. It's not the same thing as self-work. It's not the same thing as healing. It's not the same thing as healing from trauma. It's really not. I'm sorry, y'all. This is bothering me. It is really not the same thing. Nada. Let me tell you why. Let me explain. So something that I have been doing my entire life, but more so in these past few years while I've been on a so-called healing journey, which I don't call it that anymore. I just call it trying to move on and be a better me. But when I first started my healing journey a few years back, I told myself that I wasn't going to betray myself once I turned after a certain age. And by that, I meant that I wasn't going to I wasn't going to do certain things. I wasn't going to engage with certain people. I wasn't going to engage in certain behaviors that I felt like were detrimental to my core being. And it sounded virtuous. It sounded great. But really what I was doing was giving myself the vehicle to continue to ruminate on the trauma, continue to ruminate on all the things that have happened in my life that I did not like, continue to ruminate on all my mistakes, all my shortcomings, and ruminate on them instead of building a bridge and getting over them, instead of actually healing from it. Because healing is allowing the wound to close up so that you can move on, so that eventually you either don't even notice the wound or it's just a small ting. It's not no big open wound, bleeding, oozing pus, all that. Okay. And I had it really misconstrued. See, a lot of the people out here anywhere will convince you that ruminating, and they won't say it's ruminating. They'll have you talking about or thinking about the past, and they will specifically have you so that you are thinking, and you yourself, because you have to take accountability. But I'm saying, like, a lot of people out here who claim they're on a healing journey or claim they're trying to help people heal are really just encouraging people to ruminate on the things that have happened in the past. Now, rumination, I don't have a dictionary in front of me, but I know words. And ruminate means to stay on something, to let something fester or linger, to let it sit, to let it bubble up, to let it, I'm about to make a real good pasta sauce tonight. I got to let that thing cook. I got to let it ruminate. I got to let the garlic, the onions, the basil, the bay leaf, I got to let the tomato paste and the pasta sauce and all of that come together, heat up, bubble. I got to let all them things ruminate. I got to let it really sit in the pot and let it ruminate. That's not what you would typically call it. You would call it simmering if you're cooking. But simmering, ruminating, to me, they're the same thing. So that's why I gave you that analogy. But I gotta let them flavors ruminate in order to come together to be a thing. Now, when I'm cooking, it's gonna come together and be a good thing, okay? Me and my man gonna eat good tonight. But when it's you and your mind, when it's me thinking about the past, I'm calling it ruminating now, but how I would describe it before is not rumination. Oh no, I'm not ruminating. I'm simply healing. I'm simply assessing the happenings of the past and trying to give myself a new outlook. Now, I'm going to stop there and say there is nothing wrong with assessing the past and giving yourself a new outlook. However, I wrote something on my Substack, which I still have to link to this YouTube page, but I wrote something on my Substack about how we struggle, and I think I shared it in a last live, but my last live was kind of all over the place. But I wrote something in my Substack about how And we actually just got back from New York yesterday, and I was talking about this as well. But it's important when you are healing, really healing. And I don't even like to call it healing anymore, because everybody's on a healing journey, and I feel like it's kind of phony. But if you are really in a state of trying to overcome the things that have happened in your past, whatever they may be, things that have happened in your past is the key part, right? If you want to do anything, you need to be able to look at yourself as the protagonist in your own story, period. Everything after that is rumination to me, because you are now trying to assign, if you're thinking of your life like a story, you're now trying to assign a good guy to the situation, which is not necessary. You're trying to assign a bad guy to the situation, which is not necessary. You're trying to figure out who is who and what is what. And you might be like, well, I thought the protagonist was supposed to be the good guy. You just have to put yourself in the seat of the protagonist and be able to discern the situation properly. The protagonist is not just the one that does good all the time. The protagonist is the one who's like the fool. They take the journey. They're supposed to go through the situation. They're supposed to discern correctly. At the end of the day, sometimes the protagonist ends up linking with the antagonist. In certain stories and movies and books and shows and anything, any narrative that you've ever seen in your life, the protagonist is not just the good guy. The protagonist is the one that is able to accept new information. They're able to take it, and they're able to discern the good and the bad. And it's not just about good and bad people. It's not just about spirits and all this shit that people be talking about. It's really about being able to be the one that can sit in the seat of the fool, and understand that this life is so much bigger than just good and bad. It's so much bigger than that. There's nuance to things. When we were in New York, I was talking about how I wanted to put out a video about how we've lost the essence of nuance. But to be quite honest, there are probably billions of people at this point talking about how in the time that we live in now, there is no such thing as nuance. Okay, there's no such thing as nuance to a situation, to a person, to anything. I have lost the nuance in a lot of situations in the past, and I wanted to assign things as good or bad and think in this binary way. And I realized, I mean, yes, there is good and bad, universal law speaking, but in this world, there's a mix. In this 3D world, there is a mix. There is a lot of stuff is in between. So I say all that to say that you want to put yourself in the seat of the protagonist, but trying to think back on old situations and assign a good person and a bad person, or say that this happened because of this and this person had, whatever, like it's actual rumination. And worst of all, because the type of rumination that I would fall victim to is trying to figure out what I could have done differently, how I could have been different, how I could have changed. What if I had done this? What if I had done that? What if I had spoke to this person and said what I needed to say when I had to say it? What if I would have just put my hands on them when I had the chance? Like it would take me through a whole gamut of emotions. And after 2, 3, 4, 5 years of ruminating, thinking I'm healing over the same stuff, I'm still getting triggered by the same stuff. So I'm not really healing. This is why I say that calling everybody a narcissist and all this narcissist stuff is some victim mentality shit. Now, it's a lot of things that I think are some victim mentality shit, and I'm just gonna have to call it what it is, and I'm just gonna have to do it. But I have been holding back because I was like, there are some people that will probably see that video and try to judge me for not wanting to acknowledge the narcissism in everything. Like, of course, narcissism exists, but sitting up here and trying to point fingers, and worst of all, a lot of the people that are dealing with narcissism. Okay, I was watching this coaching channel, right? No shade to her, but I just want y'all to understand, right? I was watching this coaching channel, and there was a time when I was ruminating about people that weren't even in my life anymore. And I was thinking like, oh my God, they must have been a narcissist because they aligned with all these characteristics of what a narcissist is. Oh my God. And so when I watched these coaches and other people who actually were insightful, there's all types of in between, I started to put a picture together, and it did help me understand that person better. But it also, I had to force myself to ruminate on a lot of things that I had already healed from. Because to be honest, it didn't matter whether the person was a narcissist or not. I knew that they were flawed in some way. I knew that being around them, and I knew that being around them made me feel bad as a person. I didn't give a shit really about their psyche. It didn't do me any favors. It actually, trying to think back to all the horrible shit that they did, it re-triggered me. Like, it made me have to re-heal myself from shit that I had to already, and was already in the process of moving past. And that's not to say that understanding that they were a narcissist didn't help me take some of the blame off of myself. But to be quite honest, it wasn't worth, like, the journey that I had to go through to remember all these things and re-embody myself with those memories and shit like that. It really was not worth it. It wasn't worth it for me. So anyway, just talk a little shit. I was watching this coaching channel, and the lady was on there, and she was talking about how, 5 signs that XYZ is a narcissist, right? And I don't know why I clicked, because my spirit told me, like, and this is why it's important to have discernment no matter what you're dealing with, whether you're dealing with shit. Have discernment with me if you're watching this video. If we ain't vibing, that means skirt, that means go. You feel what I'm saying? Like, anybody that you see in real life or on the internet, you got to go with your first mind, which is your gut, which is your, I think, solar plexus, which is your first mind. It is literally the body reaction to whatever you are seeing and experiencing, and you got to go with that. Okay, you can't go with this, because sometimes this be taking in a whole lot of information and it'll get things a little misconstrued, right? So I don't know why I clicked. Okay, that was a long-winded way of saying that I don't know why I clicked. Okay, because I already knew it was gonna be some foo-foo. And so I click, and she's talking about 10 signs that somebody around you is a narcissist. And the way she was speaking was as if this narcissist was still in her life, because she was giving real life examples as she was breaking down the 5. So then here I am, thinking like, damn, all the narcissists or supposed narcissists are just people that I just didn't frequently vibe with, or not really in my life no more, for real. And if they are, it's at a distance or whatever. But like, I don't have them around me. So like, you're re-traumatizing me by having me remember what it's like to be around these people. Not only that, but you yourself are still talking to this person. And let me tell you something. If I was that person, narcissist or not, I'd be like, bitch, that's fucked up. Because you on the internet talking about somebody that you literally are still interacting with. And this is a grown woman. Somebody that seemingly, and listen, everybody has different situations or whatever. But like, this is a grown woman that seemingly, from what I understand, I haven't watched a whole lot of her videos, but it seems like she is on her own. Like, it seems like she's fully independent as a person. So my point is, it seems like, it's not like she's in a situation with a narcissist where she's living in the house with them like I was as a child, or like where she, is trapped in a marriage, which I don't even believe in, or whatever. Like, you are still engaging and talking with this person that you online talking about how they're a narcissist. If anything, this is a little narcissistic. So my point is, and this is somebody that is coaching hundreds of thousands of people about narcissism, supposedly. But you're still talking like somebody, maybe not hundreds of thousands, but you're still talking like somebody that is still engaging with this person that you call a narcissist. And you're trying to give people tips on how to identify them as a narcissist, but you're not really giving people the tips on how to really move forward. Because the point is, when you recognize that there's something or somebody or some situation that you need to move away from because it's not a match within you, girl, bye. Like, you need to exit the situation. Once you realize that it's your responsibility to exit the situation, or close yourself off, or gray rock, or whatever they call it. But that's your responsibility. It's not up to, like, what? And then you're online talking shit about the person, basically. So to me, that's a little crazy about you, because you are a woman with autonomy, but you're on here talking like you're still actively engaging with this person, still texting them or whatever, but then you're using them for content to try to say, well, they're a narcissist. You kind of looking a little narky to me. But anyway, that's not for me to judge or whatever. That's just how I feel. But I brought that up to say that that is a method that a lot of people are using, and they don't realize that it's causing them to ruminate on situations. It is causing them to judge situations. It's causing them to put themselves in the seat of the judge and to say, this is this, and this is that, and this is this, and this is that. And you're not really doing anything for yourself to move past it. You're just making it so that you're constantly thinking about whatever it is, and you're not really moving past it. You're just trying to judge everything and everybody in a situation. And unless you understand that in order to truly judge, you would need the nuance of source to truly judge whatever it is that you're trying to judge. All you need to know is, does this match with me and here and here and here? If it doesn't, bye-bye. Because anything else beyond that is you kind of being a black hole a little bit. It's you kind of being a ruminator at the very least, because you're spending all your time. And let me get back to me, because I didn't bring that example up to point the finger, but I just wanted to give y'all an example of some of the shit I see, and I just be like, no, like, this is not, like, there are thousands of people that are like, yeah, and, you know, such and such is a narc, and it's like, okay, if you really feel like that, in the time that it took you to type out this comment, you should have cut them off. You should have made the mental decision to say, you know what, I ain't gonna fool with this person no more. Because I'm watching this video and I'm trying to think of every situation that I've ever been in with this person. And, you know, I'm trying to think of every past trauma. I'm thinking about what that ex did to me 7 years ago. And you know, it's in the past, sweets. Let it go. Let it go. I ruminate a lot about things that I wish I could have changed, about things that I wish would have been different, situations, people, relationships, jobs, literally everything you could think of, I have probably ruminated about, because my brain just goes a mile a minute. That's just how we are as whoever, you know. I identify as many things, not just a woman, not just a sensitive person, not just a, you know, whatever. Like, as a writer, I have to ruminate on a lot of things because that helps me write. But it's like, once I'm able to get through those emotions and kind of break through, I have to find a way to build a bridge and get over it. I watched this. I'm going to close with this because it was a really good piece of advice that I actually heard today. I go back and watch her podcast a lot. It's a psychologist, and she's a minister. She's also like a sacred artist. Her name is Dr. Tama, and she's been on talk shows and things like that. I would suggest that you look her up. But she has a podcast on YouTube, and it's called the Homecoming Podcast. In one of her episodes that I had heard before, because like I said, she doesn't make them so much anymore because she's a busy woman with a life and she's doing her thing. But it's such a valuable resource to me that I go back and I watch it and I listen to it every so often. And so this morning, and based on some things that I have been doing, because I have been acting out of a place of rumination and being emotionally reactive from things that had happened in the past, things that weren't even happening now, I wanted to go back and watch her podcast because it is like Bible to me. And so she said that it is helpful because I journal all the time. All the time. My journal is always near me. I'm always writing in this thing. And she said that, you know, because I journal a lot, and then sometimes I'll go back to my journal and I will read things that I had written before, and then I will notice, of course, I had a perspective change, and then I will go back and write something else on that same page or entry. And I do that every so often, but I want to make it more of a practice because you have to understand that your perspectives, your mindset, your emotions, your feelings, especially your emotions and feelings, change over time. And a lot of us, we are emotionally driven in ways that we probably need to start incorporating some logic back into our day-to-day. And so this is kind of a way to do it. So Dr. Tama recommended that, you know, you not only do what I just said, but that you incorporate that practice into your regular writing, where you write, if there's something that you are ruminating about, something from the past, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years ago, you are writing in that journal, and then you are whatever it is that you're ruminating about, right? You reflect on it, and then you allow yourself the space to then talk about your feelings at the time of whatever it is that you're writing about happened. You talk about those feelings. And then you write separately about how you feel now, so that you can recognize that there has been growth, there has been space between that event, that happening, that relationship, that job, that whatever, and now. And that not only has there been space, but in that space, in that time, there has been growth. You know, a lot of times when we ruminate, we tend to feel stagnant and stuck, because it puts us in a sense of feeling like, you know, we are still there. We are literally telling our minds the same story, and we don't allow ourselves to really build a bridge and get over it. And I know for me, I struggle with understanding and recognizing my growth a lot of times. And so when she gave that very piece of valuable advice, it stuck with me. So that's why I'm sharing it with y'all, because it's something that I'm going to incorporate into my day-to-day, which is writing things down. If it's something that I'm ruminating about, I'm going to write it down. I'm going to write about how I felt at the time of it actually happening. And then I'm going to write about what I learned, which is specifically what Dr. Taman said. You're going to write about what you learned about yourself in the now, reflecting on that, because more than likely there's a difference. Should I dig in here? Should I dig in here? Okay, I actually am going to dig in here. Okay, so I have an entry in here. It's very long, but it's a letter that I wrote to my mom. And within the past year, my mom and I have went through some ups and downs, and we're in a better space now. And me and my mom have always been close, but you know, there are things that were completely out of my control. And because my mom had me young, I'm her first kid. She had me young. She was going through her own set of things that I didn't get from her growing up. I just didn't get it. And then some things had happened a few years back that really hurt me, because I saw her being a mom to somebody else that I felt like didn't deserve it, didn't deserve her, and mothering someone else in a way that I did not get from her. And then, you know, we were arguing a lot, and it just seemed like at a point in time she just was not pleased with me and who I was. And so I wrote her a letter, right? Now, when I'm going back and reading that letter was within it written on a lot of ruminations from shit going back as far as I can remember, because this is my mama. Now, when I really think about it, because I wrote that in an emotional state, when I really think about it, when I apply some logic to the situation, I have to understand some of the things that I just told you, because these are things that I had to understand and reflect on after writing this. And once I allowed some space, not just between my mom and I, but once I allowed some space for her to fill in the blanks, instead of me ruminating and trying to assign a good guy and a bad guy, instead of thinking that I was wrong and she was right, or instead of thinking that she was wrong and I'm all right, or instead of thinking that she's a narcissist or I'm a narcissist or whatever, right? I gave it space. And then I allowed her to come in. I'm not saying this will happen for everybody, but it just happens that my mom is a good enough person that she recognized and we were able to have a conversation that kind of filled in a lot of the blanks that I was feeling in this letter. And it took that time for me to reflect and realize that the space that I was writing in from this letter was that of a hurt me, a hurt child me. It really wasn't from the space of grown adult me. It was from a hurt version of me. And I ruminated a lot on the things over time, because I didn't have the capacity to reflect and understand how I had even grown. And I allowed myself to be triggered by her neglect. Does that make sense? I allowed myself to be triggered by the things that she needed to work on. It ain't had nothing to do with me. You ever heard me? So that was just a quick example. I don't know if that even helped, but I'm going to cut this off, y'all. I'm going to cut this off. I'll probably be back either later. No. I'll probably be back tomorrow because I was out of town this weekend, like I said. And so I just didn't really do any videos or anything. I didn't prep anything, nothing. And I got even less phone storage than I had before. So I do want to get back into the habit of coming on here daily. So I will. And with that, bye.